feature presentation.
Welcome back to another Untitled movie review. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rohrbeck. Alongside, he's allergic to tomatoes, but he is tomato meter approved, Eric Merchant.
Matt, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's day 3. We're waiting to go into Biosphere at the Princess of Wales. We have only public showings today. We've got more public than P&Is this year.
Yes.
Just like the world premiere of Brother yesterday, which we are going to review today.
Now, before we get into Brother, I want you to mention something that you didn't in your Brother's review that you
in my
enjoyed.
Bros review.
Your Bros review, pardon me.
Okay, yeah.
See, I'm already getting confused.
We did a double feature of Brother and Bros yesterday, which I think they did intentionally. They must have done intentionally.
Well, it was like back in 2009 when they had both a serious and a single man play TIFF.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, go check out our review of Nicholas Stoller's Bros. Should be out for you guys right now. I didn't mention some good hockey references in Bros. No hockey references in Brother, I don't think. Was there?
No, which is strange because it is a Canadian film, yes. But maybe that's a good thing.
That's fine, too. Not every Canadian movie needs to reference hockey. But
don't stereotype us.
There was a good Buffalo Sabres tank top and a good New York Rangers kind of bit with another bro in the movie. But today we are talking about Clement Virgo's Brother.
Yes.
Not Bros. Go check out that review, though.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is one that I think we were both really kind of excited for, in the sense that we attended the Canadian press conference announcement. Brother had been announced before, but Clement Virgo talked a little bit about the film, and he did at the premiere screening that we attended as well. Very sincere, humble guy that's been working in the industry since the early 90s. Very much inspired by the works of Spike Lee, as he's talked about before. And so with something like this, it seems to have like all the pieces of a great breakout film that would play at a festival like TIFF and get international attention. And going in, I didn't really know much about the book or even the story, to be honest, other than it took place in Scarborough in the 90s and in 2001, and it being about a brother, but specifically two brothers growing up in Scarborough, and sort of their life within their community, and how they're trying to both live happy and healthy lives, but at the same time trying to keep away from gun violence and gang violence and help out their mom. And it's basically a great story about immigrants coming to Canada and looking for a better life, and we talked a little bit about that with the Swimmers, in a way, where I think the immigrant story is an integral part to a place like Canada. Totally, it is defined by those who come from around the world looking to redefine themselves and having to self-sacrifice. We see that in Brother, especially with the mother character, but essentially you have a story of two brothers kind of just learning about the world that they live in, and most of the film taking place within the confines of their small apartment that is really kind of the centerpiece of this film.
Apartment, a barbershop.
But also kind of going
library.
outside and exploring, and when we see them as younger kids, they're kind of latchkey kids in the way that their mom goes to work at this diner and they're left to their own devices. Francis is a little bit older and kind of the father surrogate to Michael, and they go out exploring their terrain and kind
underneath
of get into
freeways, and
get into
watching
trouble,
the news at home,
but at the same time are they're kids, and the older they get, and when we see them in the 90s and in 2001, you get a sense that you can see the progression of these characters, but at the same time it is very disjointed. And I think its biggest problem is it gets lost in itself.
Yeah.
And I felt that even though the performances were good, especially Aaron Pierre, who a lot of people will know that I always joke about being mid-sized sedan and M. Night Shyamalan's old, as Francis has this commanding presence, and it'll be really exciting to see where he goes in the next few years, and I think he has that potential to be a movie star.
Both of them are really solid.
Yeah.
Like the other kid, I forget his name.
Is it Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. I think is going to be in The Last of Us.
Yeah,
if I get a chance to bring up The Last of Us,
You will. And both brothers are amazing in the movie. They have good on-screen chemistry together. I like the idea that Francis is Michael's protector, and he's the one. Like he has this cool, calm confidence, and he talks about that, and but also at the same time we see a different side of him later on in the movie that says a lot about how he's uncomfortable about expressing who he is as a person, and where that leads. And there is so much to admire from the cinematography. Already mentioned the performances, the score.
I think it's like an objectively well-made movie,
but there's just so much of it that, again,
that is a little bloated and disjointed for me.
It never completely finds its rhythm, and it's. We've talked about this before. I love movies that aren't necessarily focused on plot.
Yeah.
And finding kind of like an aimlessness where you explore lived-in characters, a world that we don't see, a segregation of Scarborough.
Yeah, totally.
And we talked about this with Bros. It's not necessarily our story. This, we're as two cis white straight men, so it's but at the same time you can empathize with the characters, you can understand what they're going through, and it just feels like somewhere in the movie, and I would say probably around the point where we're starting to learn more about the fate of a certain character, where they're building up to what actually happened, is when the film kind of gets lost. And it's really unfortunate because it does highlight, both the community, but also the time period. There's a fun little reference to Much Music.
Much Music that was great.
The music itself is also an amazing thing. It's very eclectic. I mean, Anne Murray.
And they make reference in the movie to
a needle drop there. So it's a very well made film. It ultimately kind of can't sustain itself. I mean, I don't really have much to add. Sorry,
you monologued there, but
I was just trying to make sure I got everything I could.
No, and I'm 1,000% with you. I mean, sometimes we just align completely. Where I think it is an objectively well-made movie from a technical standpoint. I think it is very nice to look at. You said the music is great, the performances are great, but what lost me was kind of the narrative structure to the movie, where it is told in a non-linear fashion, where you mentioned the 2 time periods, but they do flash back to even earlier.
Yes.
Right? So there are these kind of 3 time periods that they kind of jump back and forth to, sometimes feeling like it's even in the same scene and things like that too, where it's not. And maybe I'm an idiot and I can't follow along, but
Lamar Johnson, pardon me, I said Lamar Jackson.
Okay,
I just want to correct myself there.
No, appreciate that. But that disjoint, that's what led to that kind of disjointed feeling to me, where I could never, and this happens every once in a while when I watch something that has this nonlinear structure, even when you're telling a story like that, I feel like it still needs to be in big enough chunks for me to get invested in that moment, to then go back to something else and feel thematically that it makes sense that you're jumping around like that.
Yeah.
And in this, I just felt like it overcomplicated the movie, or just felt like it was in there just to try to, be a movie, right? Rather than telling something that's it is an impactful story, right? But because you kept jumping around and you led it to this mystery to what happened, is led me to go I can't get invested into one time because I'm jumping around going, all right, wait, is this, because no one looks that different. There's the one woman who has different hair, right? And that's kind of how you would know what time period it's in, and the mom.
So
too,
you're talking about the girlfriend who is played by. I'm going to look it up right now because my TIFF brain is on the fritz.
Eric's got IMDb up for us.
Kiana Madeira, who is from the Fear Street trilogy. She was the lead in that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing that you could, at least for me, go, okay, what time period is this in? Okay, this is the future.
Also, if you look at the
time period.
calendar on the wall,
I
like,
know,
there's
October
the-
2001. And
yeah.
like, yeah, I noticed that stuff too, but I still felt like jumping around, it kind of lost me a
Well, that's the
little bit.
novelistic approach,
yeah.
right? Like it's trying to kind of
Then give me some chapter-based storytelling or
Yeah.
something like that. Like, I know that's overdone as well. I do like that just because, like, it almost settles. I guess maybe that's also part of the TIFF brain you just talked about too, right? Where it is, we're seeing so much that I'm like, jumping around like that. I'm like, I couldn't get invested in it as much as I wanted to.
And again, it's something to appreciate in terms of going for a somewhat non-linear story structure. There's a moment where one of the characters, Francis, says, this feels like a dream, and there are moments throughout the film that do feel like a dream, especially this sequence they keep coming back to where the brothers are climbing a tower,
like an electrical tower kind of
and
thing.
it has this kind of strange
hum. And
I was going to say, just like in terms of like the atmosphere, like it doesn't feel like it takes place in the real world. Like the real world is still very much a part of it, but the world of Scarborough is its own thing, and I kind of was fascinated by that. And again,
it starts very strong. Totally.
And I'd say the first 40 minutes, like there's even moments that are very funny. Like I really love the kind of the relationship between
the two brothers,
the two brothers, but also the relationship between the boyfriend and the girlfriend in this movie, where you have like a very kind of genuine kind of courtship where like he wants to sit next to her in the library and he's reading Oedipus Rex, like stuff like that is very funny. He just grabs a
book off the shelf to try to look smart, right? Yeah, that stuff like that is cute. And again, there are some great moments. I just think, a little overstuffed, a little disjointed when it came to the framing device of the whole thing, and where ultimately I'm like, I can appreciate it and what it was going for, but I didn't necessarily love it.
Yeah, it's still better than like half of the Canadian movies that are made, and it makes you very proud that like
after seeing Roost and then going to that right after, right? Like, even though I didn't love Brother, I was like,
and Roost is not Canadian. We should make
it's
clear
not. So I didn't mean to jump on the Canadian thing. I just meant like from a filmmaking standpoint.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, this feels like a movie, right? Like it's gorgeous to look at. Like the score is great. Where Roost just felt like some like VOD kind of thing.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, even though again, we've been critical
very different
of
movies. It's just going from one movie to a next.
The structure. Clement Virgo cares deeply about this movie. You can tell that like every moment of this film, talking about these characters, being Jamaican Canadians and like following their world. He feels it deeply, and you feel what he feels. It's just again like the structure and kind of the disjointedness, but also just that novelistic approach. Like, I wonder if this would have worked better as a miniseries than a film, because of it being just so almost kind of weirdly episodic at times.
Yeah,
where again,
I actually agree with you there.
It's a hangout movie in a lot of ways as well. Like, you're just kind of having a good time with these characters as they kind of listen to music, enjoy the community, eat good food. But it's also, again, it just kind of feels like there's so much of it, and maybe if we watched it outside of a festival setting, we'd probably even have more appreciation for it.
Fair.
But it's still worth seeing. It's just one of those films where it's like we had higher expectations, I think, going in.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go 3 out of 5. Still think, again, objectively a well-made movie.
Yeah.
It just didn't completely land for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also going to give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay, well, thank you for listening, everyone. You can catch all of our TIFF reviews. We have reviews up right now for Bros, as the
Weird,
Weird.
the Al Yankovic story. I Like Movies, which is really, really lovely. Talk about another Canadian film.
The Swimmers, which you mentioned earlier. And we'll have probably 2 or 3 reviews out every day on podcast services, so you're already in the right spot, or on YouTube if you want those versions. There's no actual video, but we did throw them up on YouTube for that crowd, and so people can find them there as well. One-stop shop for everything. Head over to Letterboxd, which is Untitled_movies, and then follow me on all those social medias at Matt Rohrbeck.
I'm Eric Martin. You can find more of my video reviews on rogerstv.com/cinemascene and on the social medias at EM6211.
Until next time.
Brother.